welcome back to the channel. This is my version of that great French classic, the coq au vin. I've seen this done lots of ways all over the internet, and I have to tell you, after 35 years, there is only one way, and you're about to see it. Okay, so for coq au vin, this is what we need. We need a beautiful aged chicken, we need mushrooms and smoked bacon and pearl onions as the garnish. We need bread to make a crouton, we need burgundian wine, we need chopped parsley, and you'll also need a little bit of chicken stock. And that is all you need for coq au vin. First thing we need to do is cut this chicken for sauté. Let's first of all cut around this legs. Cut these legs off. And you'll notice this chicken is a lot older than we would normally use for a normal roast chicken. And this lends itself to a coq au vin, which is a braise, a slow chicken braise, so lots of cooking got to go on. Just going to cut that into 13 pieces as we normally do for sauté. So legs off first of all, cut that round, leave the oyster on, that's really important, take the legs off like that. So again, just nick that, pull it back, turn the thigh inside out, cut round and leave that oyster right there, leave that on. You'll see why in a second. That comes off. The wings can come off. You're just cutting straight through the cartilage. I'm not really cutting at all. I'm just going straight through the cartilage with that. Let's take the carcass out. Bend it backwards straight through. That's kind of stock fodder over here. Now, let's take out the wishbone. In the back there. Again, the other side. Wishbone and all of that come out. Again, that's for stock. Right, now it's the breast that come off. We're going straight through the carcass all the way down the back. And then I need to basically deploy a bigger knife to do this so that we can cut through, because we're leaving the chicken on the bone at the same time so that everything cooks evenly, and that's the whole point of cutting a chicken for sauté. So straight through like that. There's the breast, first one. Second one, straight down the bone there. And of course this then yields amazing bones for stock that you can use to make the stock. So the key is to get this bit done, get your chicken marinated, make your stock with all this, and then that's the stock you're going to use when it comes to making the actual braise. That's all stock there. Cut that through, trim that off nicely, like so. Just trim that up a little bit. There we go. Right, back to that sharp knife. I'm going to cut that into 3. So straight through like that. There's one piece. There. Let's cut that through there. Just use the heel of the knife. Cut through. There's 3. These actually, I'm just going to cut the ends off like that. And that way the bones will then slip out at the other end nicely. So just cut that off, both sides. When it comes to the legs, we're just going to cut straight through that lovely white line you see there. Very simple, straight through. And then I just take off the end there like that. And again, that way the bone will push through once the braise is all done. Again, with the drum, I also take that bottom joint off. Again, that allows the bone to slip through. And we're piling up a lot of lovely trimmings we can use for our stock. So again, straight through that light white line that's there, that's the natural cartilage break. You can pop through there. And there's the thigh. Drum again. And that last breast here, we just go straight through there like that. one more piece here which has got the oysters on it as well, and this is the 13th piece of that chicken for sauté that's got the chicken oysters attached to it as well, so that goes in there. So there should be 13 pieces there, ready for sauté. And this makes the most delicious stock. So let's get the stock on, let's get the chicken marinated, and we'll go from there. So that's our chicken there, the 13 pieces of the chicken cut for sauté. We're going to marinate that now. All of this stuff here is going to produce us a really lovely stock, which we can then use the following day. So this is day one prep for coq au vin for the next day that you want to serve it. Okay, so there's the veggies in with that chicken, and remember this is that marinade overnight. A few black peppercorns in there, really nice. One whole head of garlic is going to go in there as well. And then we're going to add some wine. Now, this is a very classical Burgundian braise, so I like to stick to Pinot Noir, which is the wine that is very characteristic of Burgundy. So the sort of, not an expensive bottle of wine, but it's Pinot Noir, so it's light and fragrant. And coq au vin is not a rich, sticky, deep, rich stew that people think it is. It's not like that. It's a stew that has acidity from the Pinot Noir, it has refinement, it has a chicken in there. It's a different thing. So let's just stick with it, stay with a nice Pinot Noir, and we'll go there at the end. That wants to sit in the fridge overnight for a nice marinade, some nice thyme in there as well. And that's going to marinate. No salt in there at this stage, just nice marinade overnight. I think it makes a huge difference. It sort of permeates through the chicken, makes chicken all nice and red, goes all the way through that wine, and I think it makes a huge difference to marinate that overnight. So that's going to get covered, sit in the fridge overnight, and then we can go back from there. Okay, right, this guy's had 24 hours in the fridge overnight. This is the chicken we're now going to work with. What we need to do first things first is drain that off. We've got a colander and a bowl there. It's all going through there like so. That's all drained off now really nicely. We're going to hold on to that. But before we get into the chicken, I want to start the garnish, which feels weird going backwards. But like I said, this is probably the best one pot wonder ever. And you can do this with one pan all the way through. So we're going to start first of all with our baby onions. So these are little silver skin onions that have been peeled by hand, just in some boiling water, dropped over the top of them. It helps release the skin. Peel that off again, and that goes into the pan first of all, and let those roll around in the pan. So I'm cooking the garnish, removing the garnish out of the pan, and then I'm going to cook my chicken braise after that. You with me? Stay with me, please. You can use a ventreche or pancetta, it doesn't really matter. This is pancetta. It's got that really beautiful smoky flavour, absolutely stunning. I'm going to take that skin off because that's not edible. That's super chewy and horrible, but I am going to put that into the braise because it's going to permeate and use and give a lovely smoky flavour to the braise. So we won't use that, but we are now going to cut some nice thick lardons. You can buy lardons now, can't you, as well? That's not a problem, but I wanted to cut these by hand so that I can determine how big they are, and I think that makes quite a big difference. And we want plenty of them because I think actually that smoked bacon piece is really important in the coq au vin. Into there goes the pancetta. What's going to happen here is that's all going to render out as well. So you're going to get that lovely smoked pork fat rendering out, adding to the olive oil, allowing the onions to slightly colour as well. And we're going to cook all that garnish all the way through in there. Get the garnish cooked, and then we can get on to braising the chicken. Any trimmings of this pancetta, we always keep this because it's always useful for lots of other bits and pieces, cooking lentils or whatever we're going to do. So nice big lardons, so they don't disappear into the braise, they become very much a part of it. And I'm just going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Not too much, because that is also very smoky and salty bacon. So a little bit of black pepper in there as well. We'll just give that a move around. and let that just happen for a bit. Once we've got colour and all that fat's rendered out, and once that's all moving around, we're really happy with it, then we're going to use the mushrooms to go in to kind of release all of those juices from the bottom of the pan as well. So the mushrooms are going to add a big part, but they go in a little bit later on. Now, the garnish for a coq au vin is a few things. It's the garnish grand mère, so it's the onions, the mushrooms and the lardons. There's also another secret little garnish that very few people do, and you won't have seen this quite often. It's a little heart-shaped crouton that we're going to cook in this fat in here as well. So, to cut that, all we need to do is just take a nice chunk of white loaf bread, whatever it is. Going to carve that down. I remember doing hundreds and hundreds of these. All you need to do is just carve around like so. You can see we're sort of creating that heart shape that way round like that. Lose that. All these chefs out there that used to be cutting these in the 80s and 90s are now looking and go, oh my God, I remember those. Jeez. There we go. Cut that round. So we're looking for that sort of heart shape there with the bread. And then go, this has come out better than I thought it was going to, actually, I have to say. I haven't cut that for quite a long time. So we're now going to cut that in, like so. Go from the other side. I feel like it's working. I should just lean into it. It's working.
When did you do these?
This would have been Claridge's back in the 90s. This was a Claridge's thing. But we cooked very classically then. You know, everything was very classical, very much about, you know, tradition and cooking things properly as they should be, which this very much is. This is part of that. So we'll just cut out that nice heart shape. There we go, heart shape. And then what we can do is slice that into nice slices, and we have little heart-shaped croutons. And what I'm going to do to cook these, I love in all this fat in here. This is the one for me. So what I'm going to do is move all that over the back there. Use all that incredible fat just to colour our croutons, like so. Let that happen for a moment. Don't worry about that. That's all doing exactly what it should. The brown of the onions, the caramelisation of the lardon. Let's get these croutons covered. And that, you imagine how delicious that lovely bacon fat is. So we'll just cook that there. Get those coloured nicely. Like I said, this is the proper way to cook coq au vin. There are other ways to cook coq au vin, but this is the way that I know that is completely true to tradition and classical, and it will yield the result that you don't see very often anymore. And I think it can't get lost by cutting corners and doing things differently. So I really want us to produce something that's completely authentic and delicious. That's a beautiful thing, Sam. Just going to lift those out now. And then what we need to do is reserve these, and they play a big part of things later on. So there's our lovely heart-shaped croutons, full of all that amazing bacon fat and everything else. Lovely. Look at that garnish is really happening. You need to slow that pan down now because it's getting really heavy, really aggressive, starting to really crisp up the bacon. Best way to do that, in goes the mushrooms. Full of water. I'm going to turn that off now and just let that sit for a minute. Those mushrooms are going to bleed out into there. They're going to take up all the juices from what's left in there. This is my garnish. Now, you will notice those mushrooms don't really look like mushrooms. While I was waiting for Sam and all the crew this morning to get their stuff together, I just sat there and very quickly turned all those mushrooms because I wanted to, and I really wanted this dish to be as authentic as possible. And it definitely requires turned mushrooms. I wouldn't recommend you do that. It's quite a crazy thing to do, but that's why they look all pretty and turned like that. There is another video, I think, on my channel somewhere of me turning mushrooms. So it's not something completely unusual, but that's what they are. So there's our garnish. I'm going to very quickly pick, only because I love the smell of this, so I'm just going to pick a little bit of fresh thyme into that now. Because I just love the smell of frying bacon and onions and mushrooms with a bit of fresh thyme. This is about as good as it gets. So that's the garnish for our braise at the end. I'm going to hold that out now into a bowl separately, not all over the bench. We're going to hold on to that, like so. Get our pan back on again, get some heat into that, hold on to our garnish. So over here, Sam, look, the garnish grand mère, you've got the croutons. We're starting to build up a bit of a platform here for what's probably going to be the best coq au vin you've ever seen. In here goes some more oil. Quite into this now, Sam. I'm quite excited. I'm forgetting you're here, which is the key, right? Then we've got some flour, plain flour, seasoned with salt and pepper. Look at that pepper mill. Woo. Pepper cannon. Under here is all the wine, don't forget. In here is all the chicken. Now, this wants a little rub through the flour. What's the flour for? Two things. Protects the chicken in the pan, number one. Number two, gives us thickness and viscosity to the sauce. That's really important. So you think that flour's going in there now, it's going to stay in the pan all the way through, and it's going to give us a thickness to the sauce at the end, and that will have all come. Control the pan. Let's not be burning that pan now. Keep it nice. Like, it needs to fry the chicken. It doesn't want to get too carried away. It doesn't want to burn and scorch the flour, but it needs to be hot enough to fry the chicken and not poach the chicken. That's really important. There we go. A little bit of flour, dust it off again. Back it in the pan again, stack those nicely. Keep the pan controlled, turn it down a bit now. As long as it's frying, that's fine. As long as it's not boiling, that's what we don't want. And what you can see from that overnight marinade, you can see how the wine has permeated into the chicken, giving it that deep colour. And this is how you make a really authentic, proper coq au vin. I'm just fishing out all those bits of chicken. And I think, you know, you get 4 people fed really easily out of one chicken as well. You know, generously, not just a couple of bits each. There's room for one more. Right, that's all in. Keep the heat up now because that pan is packed full of chicken. I'm now just going to turn the first one over. That's the sort of colour I'm looking for. That sort of gentle browning, no more than that. I don't want to cook the chicken in this pan right now. I just want to brown it because brown is flavour. That's what we want. That's what we're looking for. So just let that brown. What you can smell actually is the wine cooking. It really is quite a unique thing. That smell I get from cooking coq au vin and from the wine in there is really unique. It's like a sort of wine reducing, quite acidic smell. I love it. Keep the pan hot enough. Don't let the chicken boil. Make sure it's colouring because you want to colour it quick enough that the chicken doesn't cook, but it all gets coloured and stays raw, because then we can do all the cooking in the braise at the same time. So let's lift that chicken out now. Still raw, nicely coloured. The pan is not burnt and scorched, and that's really important, but the chicken's been sealed off, and that's the seal flavour in there. Right, now it's the time for this veg that we use for the marinade and the peppercorns back in here. I'm going to go slowly now. I'm looking for this veg to take all of that residue on the bottom of the pan up into the vegetables, sweat them. I'm not looking for big colour. I don't really need that. It's not that kind of braise, but I do want the vegetables to soften a little bit, the water content to come out, and I want all of that residue on the bottom of the pan to come up. So in goes the delicious veg: carrot, celery, leek, onion, thyme, peppercorns, all the things you would want in a lovely braise like this. Sun's coming out, Sam, look. This is autumn, and it's autumn food, huh? This is the autumn braise. You know what I always say? I drink Pinot in the spring and summer, I drink Rhone wines in the autumn, and I drink Claret and Bordeaux wines in the winter. It's pretty simple, really. Oh, thanks. Is that for me? Cheers. Woo-hoo. That was good timing, wasn't it? I won't drink now. It's very early in the morning, look. Lovely. So, a little sweating on that veg. Now, in is going to go wine. There's no pickle liquor, there's no vinegar, there's no funky business going in here. It's just red wine. That's all that wine from the marinade. And when you turn the camera around, I'm going to slip some more wine in there. There we go. That needs to come up to a boil quite quickly, and we want to reduce that wine down all the way to 0 as quick as we can. Right, there, back in with the chicken. In it goes. Go with the chicken stock. Now, this is nice brown chicken stock. Buy the best stock you can. What you'll notice now is I've not covered that. I've not completely submerged everything in the chicken stock. It's still poking out the top, and that's really important. So this is the right amount of stock to go in, just to cover. Let it poke out. Be brave with it. We want a cartouche on top of that. So that's just a nice piece of paper. It's been cut to size for the pan. And I've got an oven that's preheated to 160. Now I think that's quite important. It's quite a low temperature, and I cooked this for 160 for exactly 1 hour. Okay, there's our coq au vin back from the oven. It's had its hour. Come in here, Sam, just have a little look at where we've got to. You can see all that fat that's come up there. That's all the fat from the bacon and the chicken and the olive oil as well. So now what we're going to do is just lift out this chicken and pop this pan on to get hot. Lift out the chicken. It's nicely cooked. It's not completely falling off the bone or anything. It's not supposed to be. There's supposed to still be some bite into it. You don't want to waste any of that sauce. That is just a whole pan of flavour. How beautiful does that look? Look at that, Sam. Look at the and the aroma. It's like chicken, wine, vegetables, thyme, smoked bacon. God, those French boys and girls were very clever when they come up with this one. You want this sauce to come all the way down. So what we've done, we've lifted the chicken out, we've passed away the sauce, got rid of the vegetables, and that sauce is now coming down to be rich and glazed and glossy, which is important to take the fat out. And then if you come back over here, we've also got all of our bits and pieces laid up. Now I've got mashed potato in a pan working over there, which will come into play. You can't have coq au vin without lovely mashed potatoes. We've got grand mère garnish, onions, smoked bacon, and our mushrooms. And then we've got some chopped parsley for our coeur here, which is going to be our heart-shaped crouton. And we've got our chicken. Oh, looks wonderful. That's just resting over there. Woohoo! Good God. Right, okay. That sauce is pretty much where I want it. Can you see that, Sam? Look at that on the back of the spoon, look. You see it's coating like that. Absolutely beautiful. Right, what's going in here now is all of this grand mère garnish. Not all the juice though. I don't want all that because there's a lot of fat in there. It's kind of mushroom and onion juice. I don't really want that so much. So I just want all those lovely garnishes in there. And this is kind of going to, that juice there is kind of good. It's kind of bacony, a bit salty, and it's the bleed out from the onions and the bacon. Not mad about that. That goes in there like that. Then get some chopped parsley in there, and that's really important. And that is our coq au vin sauce. Right, now let's turn that off. Let's put our chicken back in here. Our chicken back in here. Do you remember I cut the knuckles off of the chicken? It's so that we can do this, look. We can take those out like that if we want to, or at the table or whatever you want. So that's the reason for that. But I like the bone on because I think it gives an extra flavour amount to that. Right, just going to mix this all up and glaze it nicely in the sauce and get that real lovely feeling. And I think I'm going to serve this kind of, I'll plate one, but it's going to be a family sharing style thing. That's what coq au vin was made for, you know. I mean, if you turned up at somebody's house And they said, oh, I've got a little lunch prepared for you, and should we have a glass of wine? And we start off with a nice glass of champagne, and then they pull this out of the oven and they put that in front of you. You just know you've won at Sunday lunch. You're there, right? This is it. I mean, I could probably on a good day, I could maybe kill that myself. So there we go. That's that. Right, now what I want to do, these croutons. So these are our heart-shaped croutons. I'm just going to dip half of those in the sauce. And then what we're going to do, we're going to take a big knife like that, and we're going to cover one half, and then we're going to basically sprinkle on the parsley. Like so. Put those there. We don't need that. I mean, who's doing this now? No one. And why aren't they doing it? Because it's a big faff, because it feels really old-fashioned. Is it nice? Yeah, bloody hell, it's nice. It's really nice. It soaks up the juice. It's got all the lovely bacon fat. Adds a lovely crispy texture to what is otherwise quite a soft, one-textured dish. It's a bloody nice thing, but no one's doing that anymore. I mean, I don't do it anymore, so I'm not surprised. So there you go. There's our heart-shaped croutons. There's our coq au vin. Let's plate one of these up. I've got some wonderful Trinity mashed potatoes, which is, as you would imagine, is full of cream and butter and all the good stuff as you could possibly want. There we go. There we go. And what we're going to do is just place a lovely piece of the chicken like that. Oh, I've got my parsley hands all over the chicken, all over the plate. A piece of that thigh, a piece of the drum, and a piece of the breast. There we go. And then it's really all about that garnish, right? And in goes the garnish like so. Plenty of that bacon. I think that's fantastic. A little bit more. Couple down there. A couple more of those mushrooms that I turned. In there like that. Right, now, plenty of that sauce. Plate white, please, Jack.
Oh, you got a Jacob.
And the last thing that needs is a little heart-shaped crouton. You know, I think it's a genuine question as to whether or not this is the ultimate one-pot wonder. One of the best chicken braises there is. When it's cooked properly and the love is applied to it and it's made right, this is an absolutely incredible thing. I want to try the crouton because I just don't see those very often. And the chicken, the wing will be lovely because it's kind of fatty and delicious. That smoked bacon. Double carb. God, that's good. Oh my God. Woo. So there we go. That is my coq au vin. I really hope you enjoy it. I hope you give it a go. I hope you just lean into it. Set aside a whole half a day. But look, I mean, look at the energy and effort that goes into this. This is not a simple thing to do. And all I ask really for that cost is give me a like, give me a subscribe. Helps the channel, keeps us going, keeps us doing what we're doing. Hope you enjoy it. Happy cooking. Coq au vin. Yeah? Is that all right?